if you put all your marbles into like one person creating everything and there's no organization, they're just going out and hustling, which is great while it's happening. But when they leave, what happens to your business? What happens to your organization? And so that's why we really spent the last year and a half getting our processes in our system. So when turnover happens, when anything were to happen, or a client has a request from something we filmed 3 years ago, we are organized where we can pull that on a whim, recreate it, repurpose it, and reuse footage as needed for different purposes. So every time we hit record now, we log in a database who recorded it, what kind of interview is it. We rate it 1 through 5. We estimate how many clips we have. We summarize what was talked about. So that way, when you say, hey, we need for CNA week, we need to pull all of our best CNA stories together and put a video on our website, we can do that in a day turnaround and you don't have to spend, thousands of dollars to bring a video crew out and shoot a whole new concept. And so if you invest in it on the front end, on the infrastructure and the processes and the organization of the footage, which is your data, then you can not have to spend as much as time goes on reusing and recreating that footage for different purposes.
Welcome to The Move In, a senior living marketing podcast from Unlock Health, a full-service marketing partner for the aging services industry. Join us for candid conversations exploring the latest marketing strategies with the senior living community leaders and innovative solution partners who are moving our industry forward. Together, we'll build a community to build better communities. Is your social media truly telling the story of your community, or has it become just another box to check in your marketing strategy? Hello, I'm Larry Williams, and welcome to The Move In Senior Living Marketing, powered by Unlock Health. Too often in senior living, social media becomes reactive instead of intentional. Another holiday graphic, another quick update, and another trend, but not enough content that truly reflects the heart of a community, the residents, the team members, and the culture that makes each organization unique. In today's episode, I'm joined by Nathan Jones, CEO and founder of Dash Media, to talk about what it really takes to create meaningful video content that connects with the right audience. This conversation goes far beyond simply making videos. We dive into the power of authentic storytelling over chasing trends, how to build scalable video systems and workflows, and how communities can strategically use video throughout the entire marketing funnel. If your organization is looking to create content that not only gets attention, but also builds trust and connection, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. All right, let's jump into it. We are back on The Move In Senior Living Marketing. Again, another friend, Nathan Jones. If you've gone to a senior living conference here recently, you probably saw Nathan, potentially his team, doing a lot of video work. They're a great resource to all of us in senior living. Nathan, thank you for joining the show.
Thanks, Larry. It's always a pleasure to see you, man.
It's always fun having the conversations. Before we go any further, hey, tell us what you're working on at Dash Media.
At Dash Media, that's a great question. Well, right now I'm like days away from having a second child. So my brain is kind of scattered all over the place. But the beautiful part about where we were when my wife and I had our first child 2 years ago and where we are today is we have put in so much time, energy, and investment into building out the processes and the systems to where we would never miss a beat. And so when you're creating 5 videos a week, 4 videos a week, 3 videos a week, over and over and over, without good systems, like it can be chaotic when one person leaves. But like me, being able to step away for a few weeks for paternity leave, it's going to be really cool to see like how the engine keeps going and how it has nothing to do with me being there. And our team with Randy and Shelby and Shauna and Charlotte and the list of videographers and editors and social media managers, that they're going to be able to keep telling stories every single week. And so I would say that's the most proud thing I am over the last like 6 to 12 months. It's kind of like our process of storytelling. We've always had the heart for it. We've always had the talent for it, but being able to do it at scale is a totally different animal. And I feel like that's something that we really nailed in the last, year or so.
That's great. Hey, congratulations on the second child. That's a game changer. Hope you're catching up on sleep now. That's critical right now before the baby number two arrives. And really glad to hear you say that about really, getting the team together because that's critical. And I think about the work that you and your team do with these video assets and how you really teach communities how to really scale their video efforts. I think sometimes groups look at video and say like, I don't know if we can handle this. It's something we struggle with at a community level. How do we manage this? Your team goes in and really, guides the process on how to make it scalable, repeatable, and something that's not just a one-off and then stepping back away.
Mhm. Yeah.
It,
No, I mean
it,
that's totally true. It's look, you can go out and have a person that can come in and film and do a great job and create content and post to social media and manage it and put it on all the platforms. But it's a lot of there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of effort and a lot of work and a lot of money that goes into doing that. And so it's it's a service industry. You're gonna kind of get out of it what you put into it. And one of the things that I'm super proud of is just the number of shoots that we just celebrated editing our 10,000th video a couple of weeks ago. And so when you do that level of volume and that number of shoots in senior living communities, you learn a lot of lessons that that can really only come from experience. And so I think that's where we really pride ourselves in is just being the trusted partner where it's not someone else you have to manage. It's someone that you can trust to go do the job, and then you can go back to doing what you're paid to do as a sales and marketing leader at an
yeah.
organization.
And I think about the sales and marketing leader. They can take a step back and really quarterback this. And I think that every conversation I have with you goes back to football. We always have some type of football reference, but ultimately, that sales and marketing leader needs to really quarterback the efforts and pull it all together, and not be the one who's trying to handle all the video shoots, but really rely on the right people to be able to execute a vision. And you said the 10,000th video that you've shot. Congratulations for that. I started to clap, but I realized that I was going to make too much noise. So I'm celebrating you and your team on that effort. I think it goes back to what's the stat of 10,000 hours makes you an expert at something. And I think definitely you have excelled in that area. So you can officially say that you're beyond expert level when it comes to video, especially on the senior living side.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's all it's a going back to the football analogy. If you had 22 Tom Brady's the greatest football player of all time. But if you have 22 Tom Brady's, that's going to be a really bad football team because his skill set is to be the quarterback. And so
Yeah.
we view ourselves, and our team kind of views ourselves as the people that surround Tom Brady to go out and run the routes, to go out and do the dirty work, to go out and kind of have the knowledge and the vision and the speed and you know, the flexibility to kind of execute Tom Brady's vision, the quarterback's vision. And so the sales and marketing leaders, that we work with, they really view us, one, as a part of their team, but two, is the people going out there and kind of capturing and executing on the vision that they have through videos every single week.
Yeah, that's great, and it takes me back to the conversation we had before we hit record, which is you asked me, "Hey, where do you think that you specialize as a marketing agency?" And I highlighted where I felt like we add value, and you said that's interesting because the other marketing agencies I speak with all have different points of what they would label their expertise. And so going back to that team construct, yeah, I think we all can lean into where we really add value, where we really stand out, and work together as a team instead of saying, "Hey, no, I got all of this." No, we can say, "I got this part. I'm really good at this, and let's pull all this together to make it a winning formula." And so,
Yep.
yeah, I appreciate that. I love the Tom Brady analogy. That's really good because you're right. If you had Tom Brady's on the line, it's not going to fare well for you. So I think that's a good way to look at it. Now, when we think about video, something else I mentioned to you is that two things have come up a lot recently, which is first, getting away from stock photography in your marketing assets, and number two, how important it is to really leverage video in all things marketing and really telling that story. And so, what changes have you seen over the last what before I say that, how long has Dash Media, been in business? If I remember right, it's about what, 4 or 5 years. Is that correct, Nathan?
Yeah, 4.5 years.
Okay, so I was right there. What changes have you seen over that 4.5 years when it comes to video and senior living?
Oh, that's a good question. The changes I've seen since we first started till today is 4.5 years ago, I could post and pretty much guarantee somebody's going to go viral right away. The algorithm has changed so much, and so many more people are like, the competition of content has increased so much over that time span that you really have to, like, going viral is not always even the best thing. It's more of like, who's the audience you're trying to get to watch your page, and are we attracting those people? I think I could still, if someone said, let's go viral, I could tell you how to go viral, but it's not necessarily going to attract the people that you want to attract. Like doing TikTok dances or TikTok trends, yeah, you get a lot of views, but you're not getting in the algorithm of people that you want to see your content. So some people disagree with me on that. That's completely fine. I personally would rather create a consistent voice of, brochures and print tell you what a community offers. A video of your people tells you how it feels to live there or feels to work there. And so that's what we want to generate, is a page on any platform, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, no matter where you're at, of when people show up there, however they get there, that it's very obvious how you will feel if you live or work at that community. And so our strategy, or our messaging, has changed a little bit from this, like, the number one goal is to go viral, because that's just not, without the experience I had in the beginning, that's like what I thought was most important. But what I've learned is, yeah, it's good to go viral with the right audience, but it's really, the most important thing is just that consistent messaging that you're putting out there, that's over time gradually growing and growing and growing, this audience that of people who actually care about what's going on in your community.
Yeah, I think that's a huge shift that we're seeing, which is quality over quantity.
Mhm.
And we work on some websites where, yeah, you're driving a lot of traffic, but it's to an article that really doesn't have meaning when it comes to potential resident acquisition, or really telling that story of the community, but it's performing well.
Mhm.
Now, going back to what you said, like, it needs to be leveraged the right way, and we need to really speak to that audience, whether it's the adult child decision maker, the senior living seeker themselves. We need to make sure we're showing up in the right places and speaking to the right people, and not just driving numbers. And yes, the numbers, it's exciting to see that growth, but ultimately, what is the end result? And I
Mhm.
appreciate you highlighting that. So you mentioned, really, going viral. What do you see? What type of videos do you see really move the needle these days?
Uh, well, from a value standpoint, older residents, like if you get to the 100-year-old residents, we created a channel called Vintage Voices 100 in partnership with the Tailgate team and Jack,
Yeah.
about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. Um, and that channel really took off, like focusing on 100-year-olds. I think that there's kind of this dilemma with content creation in senior living. One being, like, one side is like, we want to share all the different perspectives from all the different people. We want to highlight therapy, we want to highlight resident stories, we want to highlight staff, we want to show our building, we want to, you know which is great. Those are all good things, and that's really why we exist. We capture all of those things and edit it into videos, and you're sharing a staff story every week, and you're sharing your activities program every week, which is great. But the way that social media is kind of in the current state of it, people want to know what they're following. And so the people that have more followers, it's a consistent look. So it's the same kind of, like, they they know what to expect when you post. So like the 100-year-old show worked because it was 100-year-olds in a van with Jack driving around telling their story. So when people click follow, they wanted to see 100-year-olds driving around in a van. In the senior living world, you really have to be interested in senior living to like want to see all that variety of content. But personally, like if I was starting my own senior living and I had complete autonomy, I would find like one resident influencer and host a podcast with that resident influencer interviewing other residents. Or I would have like one, like Schlegel Villages in Canada did a green bench, and it was like the green bench was telling their stories on that bench. And so like think of like what is your landmark on that page, and so people would follow for that reason. Which we have some clients doing that, but I would say mostly, so there's that dilemma of like, do we share all the different perspectives, or are we really just going after exposure? And I think that's up to the organization. I don't think it's necessarily a wrong way to do it. You just want to tell your stories, but there is like a way to get more views versus tell your entire organization's story.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. That's a really great idea about the podcast, by the way. I think somebody might listen to this and run with it. And what I'm hearing from you is really being structured and organizing in your content. I think when over the last few years we've seen groups, it's using more of that shotgun approach. And what I'm hearing from you is we need to really use that rifle and be very specific of, how we organize the content, the story we're telling. Because I agree with you. When we find content we like, we keep going back to that content, that same type of content. And if you can pull that in and really telling what life looks like at the community and how others live their best life, I think that's a winning formula.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? If you go and look at some of the top followed senior living accounts, or top viewed, like the ones that have gone viral, a lot of them like stop posting content out of nowhere, and you wonder why. And it's the creative world. As a guy that runs an organization with a lot of creatives, there's a lot of turnover that happens. That like you kind of get distracted, and so if you put all your marbles into like one person creating everything and there's no organization, they're just going out and hustling, which is great while it's happening. But when they leave, what happens to your business? What happens to your organization? And so that's why we really spent the last year and a half getting our processes in our system. So when turnover happens, when anything were to happen, or a client has a request from something we filmed 3 years ago, we are organized where we can pull that on a whim, recreate it, repurpose it, and reuse footage as needed for different purposes. So every time we hit record now, we log in a database who recorded it, what kind of interview is it. We rate it 1 through 5. We estimate how many clips we have. We summarize what was talked about. So that way, when you say, hey, for CNA week, we need to pull all of our best CNA stories together and put a video on our website, we can do that in a day turnaround, and you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to bring a video crew out and shoot a whole new concept. And so if you invest in it on the front end, on the infrastructure and the processes and the organization of the footage, which is your data, then you can not have to spend as much as time goes on reusing and recreating that footage for different purposes. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. And it's funny, I'm about to take this conversation and go to the side. I'm on a hard pivot. You mentioned about the turnover. And I think part of it, people just get tired. Like they're creating the videos, they're creating the content, the assets. And after, it might be a year or two, they got other things they're trying to work on. It's hard to keep that type of momentum. So that being said, how important is the right digital asset management system through this process? Because I feel like with what you and your team, what you're saying is, we collect all this stuff, but then we can house it and we can tag it so it can be leveraged for future uses. And you can spread out, you can be a lot more, I'd say, precise with your energy and really manage that. So you're not trying to reinvent the wheel every single week.
Yeah. So there's two ways to look at this, in my opinion. One is being like, what what does our content look like? So a lot of organizations that have someone, on their team that's kind of like managing social, they're going out and filming with their cell phones. They're doing a lot of trends. They're doing things like that. The burnout on that is way higher because you're constantly have to think of like the new trend and how to film it, organize it within your organization, and with like also keeping the dignity of your residents and like going through the approval and all of that. And so you may have some momentum at the beginning, but you hit a wall on like always using your creative juices to have like a funny idea, which is what everyone's after. Whereas where our take is like if you focus on the person's story and you get really, really good at authentically pulling their story out and sharing it in a positive way that hooks people in, that retains their attention and has a call to action when people want to have a call to action, then there is no like it's unlimited. There is no idea. It's the person's story. It's just how many people can we talk to? And so that's why we really believe in the power of storytelling as opposed to the power of trends.
The power of storytelling opposed to the power of trends.
Yeah,
I think that's
I just made
huge.
that up, but it's
No,
true.
that's good. I think that's really just such an important quote because it is easy to get caught up in this rat race of just trying to follow the next trend, to follow the next editing tool and trying to put all this together when it's really the story at
Yeah.
at the foundation of it all. And one thing that you hit on, I kind of want to shift gears again. I feel like I'm all over the board just because I learned so much from you, Nathan, that when we chat, I feel like I'm just, really going into different directions. But you mentioned, those video shoots where, we're using our phones. These are so powerful these days and how to record. What's that balance of groups really using, a cell phone to record these short form videos compared to bringing in the level of production that your team offers? And how do you find that balance of when to leverage one over the other?
Yeah, I would say I would view cell phones as like you're quick, like on the fly. Like when my son says a word for the first time, like I'm not going to get my rig up and organize it and micing them up and putting them in good lighting and saying, say it again, buddy. Like that's great. No, I'm pulling out my cell phone and I record it. But it does limit you. When I want to find that 6 months from now, I don't know where it is.
Sure.
I didn't log it. I didn't know what he said. I didn't take the time to really, going back to the back end infrastructure. I didn't if my boss asked me, if my wife asks and says, where's that video from 6 months ago that you got to Noah saying his first word? I'm going to have to go and scroll and watch every video in the last 6 months until I find it. And so if you apply that logic to senior living, yeah, you have someone out there hustling, getting a lot of great footage, great. But if you have to reference that or that person leaves and everything is on their cell phone, what's the plan then? You've just spent all this money on them doing this and you're left with nothing. And so that's where we really, really pride ourselves in kind of that organization of the content. So what we did to kind of help with the on the fly, we created a form where that form you just drag and drop all the footage, 20 clips that you filmed of the 100th birthday party, you send it over, it enters into our system and our database where we can reference it at a later stage if needed. And you're still getting that brand compliant video to go out to be in front of the world, as opposed to, relying on someone to take the time to edit it and post it and do all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think that conversation is just as important as the actual video production conversation we're having, because I feel like that's where a lot of groups struggle is the scalability of all of this, and to be able to, I say, securely pull all of these assets into one location. I think that's a lot of times the missing component. And we see the video shoots, we see the production quality, we see the story, but a lot of times it's what's happening behind the scenes that's really going to help marketing teams thrive and keep from going through burnout phase, but actually make it scalable and manageable.
Yep, that's right.
So creating a video is one thing, but getting it seen is another. And one thing that I always go back and I reference something you said at one point, Nathan, was social media video, it doesn't need to be just another checkbox to fill out, where it's just saying, happy Easter or happy Mother's Day. Really leverage the stories behind the scenes. But w- w- do you have any advice for communities who really want to not only get their video out there, but for others to see it?
Yeah, so like what are people doing wrong now? Like uh,
Yeah.
kind of that sense. So it was interesting. I listened to a podcast or like a webinar or something recently about like storytelling and changing the perception. They had a few different operators on, and they were sharing some amazing stories that they filmed and captured. I was like, I want to see this that they're talking about. I went to their Instagram page, nothing there. They haven't posted in over a year. Went to their Facebook page, just pictures from the activities team. Went to their YouTube page. It was posted wrong, and so it wasn't like posted in the YouTube short form because it was in the wrong format, and it had like 64 views. But it was amazing footage and amazing content. And so I was, sometimes in my head, I undervalue the process of like posting it and like having it all in the right formats on the right channels with the right captions and the right keywords and the right tagging and all of that thing because it's just becomes second nature. But that's so, so important. You can spend all the time in the world producing and all the money producing like these stories. But if you don't put them in a place in the right format in the right place where people actually can see it and how it's that platform's designed to show it, you're kind of wasting your time. You're only going to see it if you tell someone, hey, sit and watch this video. And so I think that's one of the things that I see consistently is like I'll hop on a sales call and they say, well, we're already doing video. And I said, well, I just went to your Instagram page. I haven't seen anything. I went to your Facebook page. I haven't seen anything. I went to your website. I haven't seen anything other than 8 pages into this one subsection of page that you have this video. And so I think like, are these videos getting shared out there? And then two, from a social standpoint, if you are sharing them on social media, the two common mistakes are like way over production. So like you're posting like TV commercials once every couple of months on your social page where it's like your logo intro, logo outro, stock B-roll, and like your classic testimonial, or underproduced. So it's like you really hired an intern who has like an iPhone 3 that went out and interviewed and there's no proof process and they're just going crazy on your channel. I think both of those like don't really work. So there's kind of a balance there as well. It's like, where do these videos go? What does the platform want them to look like? And then two is like, how do we go out and capture that and edit those that type of content at scale and then distribute it onto each of the channels?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because there is a wide variety of options you can go with, and just find that balance across the board is key. You mentioned about having the videos on from Instagram to Facebook to YouTube. What's your recommendation when you have these videos? Do you duplicate, the in the different channels, or do you focus more, as a specific type of video onto YouTube compared to the shorts on Facebook? What's your advice to communities in that area?
Yeah. So we've kind of been known for your social videos. So if you think of it, your sales funnel, your social videos, you're the top of the funnel. It's your brand awareness. There on YouTube, I think the max now, this changes, but I think the max is like 90 seconds. So we try to keep everything under 90 seconds for your shorts. And that's where volume is what matters. Volume with quality. So having a consistent 2, 3, 4, 5 videos shared on each of the platforms every single week. And we're big believers in like, if you're investing in capturing and editing this person's stories, you should post it everywhere that accepts short form video that your people that would potentially want to live or work at your community's attention is going. So the four we really focus on is YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And so from there, you have the assets, you put them on the different platforms. The next part of the sales funnel is, okay, they've come to your page from Larry's story, who shared that he was a Vietnam veteran and had all this amazing advice. I want to go to the website and see like a profile of Larry, or I want to see other residents. And so there's like a 1 to 2 minute video that's like highlighting different programs and different things at your community that's more testimonial driven because you've earned the right to be heard. People are really researching. And then the closing, the bottom of the funnel would be more of like your 4 to 5 minute company story video, where it's like your who, what, and why, mission, vision, values, kind of like staple video on your website that people that know you and are thinking about moving in or thinking about working with you, that would kind of get them over the hump. So you can't, like, no one's going to watch that video if you don't have anyone.
Sure.
You're not posting shorts, but if you're only posting shorts and you don't really have a funnel, then you're just getting a bunch of attention from people that don't know what to do with your brand.
Yeah, I love the way you put that together. I think it'd be cool to have that a document that you have on LinkedIn
Yeah,
or something, just to really structure each level and why each one is needed, and the level of professionalism each one takes, right? And so I really appreciate you highlighting that. And so I'm going to again shift gears another time and take you back to kind of where we started this, which is groups that are wanting to lean more into video production work. They just don't know where to start, or they have a limited budget. They need to scale up. What's the starting place that you recommend to groups when they want to dip their toe in the water when it comes to all things video?
That's a great question. Without a budget, what kind of budget are we working with?
Ooh, that's the $1,000,000 question. That is great.
Yeah,
I would say just a limited budget where I
yeah,
know a lot of times, especially in marketing, that groups need to kind of show that it could work to earn the right to go into that next level of spend.
yeah,
And so it might be one of those where they do start with the phones and trying to get some more traction. And then we're going to take this production quality up a notch. And so I was curious to see, like, what's your advice to those who know how important it is to really lean into all things video, but really not sure how to take those next steps?
yeah. So I personally, and maybe someone has a differing opinion. I personally don't think you can do this without having someone that owns it and champions it and is their full-time job. So in that case, you're talking a full-time salary at minimum is kind of like the minimum threshold to be able to film everything, edit everything, and post everything. Now, that doesn't include like you're not going to be able to scale the content. You're not going to be able to like organize it in the proper way, but you will be able to get some good results as long as that person stays. I would say what I would suggest to someone is like really figuring out, okay, if this person leaves, are they logging the content a certain way? And so I would say the minimum, like having someone like a full-time person that owns all of this. They change so fast, and content, there's like 3 pillars to it: content capturing, you're filming, content editing, and then content sharing, your social media. And so we like to pride ourselves in saying we cover all 3 of those people for the price of an employee. But you really, like, there are people that could do all 3. It's just I don't like when I first started Dash, I used to say like, yeah, just have someone film on your phone and post it. Okay, that works for a week, but that person already has a full-time job that you've hired them for. So you really have to have somebody that owns it. If you have someone that owns it, um, the more shoots you do, the more you will learn how to be efficient and maximize your time on those shoots. And so that was one of the things that we really figured out is like, hey, we're way over filming and we're not editing all this content, or we're way under filming and we're having to go film too frequently. And so really getting a good cadence, the more that person goes out and shoots content and captures the stories, the more they'll be efficient with their time, where they won't have to go and film as much and they can spend more time on post-production and sharing. And so I think some of it comes over time with learning. But it really comes down to those 3 pillars, like capturing, editing, and then sharing on all the different platforms, and kind of being able to show the analytics of the success that the stories are having.
I really appreciate everything you said, because I think it's really important. Far too often we just look at video and we're like, yeah, I want to add video. Yes, we can tell stories. There's so much when we see this, it's just the tip of the iceberg of what else needs to happen in really to create a sustainable way to manage, produce, to tell these stories, and to make sure that the stories are seen. So I appreciate going into a deep dive. I know I had questions more on the video side, but I think this is the important stuff that we all need to hear. We all need to discuss because I think it gets overlooked at times. We like to discuss the stories of the video, but what's all of this behind the scenes, and how do we make this successful and scalable over time? So I really appreciate you really leaning into that part of the conversation. Before we wrap, is there anything we didn't cover that you think it's important just to highlight?
Well, I think, understanding the VP of sales and marketing or the chief marketing officer or the executive director, understanding their pain points of why they don't do this. They all believe that they should do it. It's like nobody's needs to be sold on, do the stories matter? It's like, how do we do it is the big question mark. And little things like that like, here's a great example of something that we've learned. When someone leaves their job and they go to a different community and you don't want to feature them on the channel anymore, or a resident moves away, or some organizations don't like sharing residents after they pass away. That's a kind of a debate. You have to have a way, like if you're capturing all this content, 6 months from now, you may not remember at one of your communities, this person left and you filmed them and now you can't share them for CNA week. And so one of the things we developed, because we made those mistakes, we've made a lot of mistakes in 4 years, but we fixed them all, as they've come. And so we have, like, Randy and I on our team review videos, and then AI reviews videos and detects anybody that the client has told us has left or is mentioned, or we broke a brand compliant rule. And AI will pick up on things that Randy and I miss in the review process. So, like, there's so many intricate parts to this process that you may not even think of. But when you're, reviewing 200, 250 videos a year, there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of processes. There's a lot of back-end systems that are really, really important. And it's just good to think about them on the front end, because when you do, and you kind of have solutions for each one of them, you can get really, really creative when you have ideas come up throughout the year of campaigns and ways to share the stories, if you kind of have that infrastructure built from the beginning.
Man, that's the best place to wrap up because you just really taught everybody how to level up. We all see the importance of video. Everybody wants to lean into it, but how do we take this and take it to that next level? I think that's key. Nathan, thank you so much for joining us today. Good luck in the coming weeks. Everything's going to be great with you and your family. We're all excited for you and celebrating with you. Last thing is, where can people find you to learn more about you, Dash Media, your team? What conferences will your team attend? Just give some information for those who want to connect more with you.
Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Nathan Jones, or Dash is My Dash Media on any of the social platforms. You can follow us. We'll be at Shelby Rayner, our VP of Client Success, will be at Argentum, where we've done a partnership with Argentum for the I Love Senior Living campaign, to inspire the industry to share more stories about why people love senior living. We'll be at ASHA in June as a part of the Where You Live Matters website to educate consumers. And then Leading Age Southeast, and on into the fall. Smash. I'll see you all you guys at those events as well.
That's awesome. Hey, we appreciate your team. We appreciate the guidance, and hang in there, my friend.
Awesome. Thanks, Larry.
All right. Thank you, Nathan. As we wrap up today's episode, one thing stands out. Great senior living marketing isn't about posting more content, it's about telling better stories. Nathan shared powerful insights on how communities can move beyond trends and build authentic, scalable video strategies that truly connect with residents, families, and prospects. Here are 3 takeaways from today's conversation. First, focus on authentic storytelling over chasing trends. Second, build systems to organize and repurpose content at scale. And third, use video strategically throughout the marketing funnel to build awareness, trust, and conversion. Nathan, thank you again for joining us today and sharing your expertise. And thank you to everyone listening to the Move In. And until next time, let's go create some meaningful connections.